Tom Luginbill joins us now. Lugs, man. Oh, man, it's a busy week. Portal, early signing period, the bowl games and everything. We start a dead period today. But if I asked you, do we have to, moving forward, move this early signing period out of this area, get rid of it totally? Because it seems to be impossible for me to build a roster when I got so many people in the portal and I've got to do signing day and all that. How do you manage that as a coaching staff?
It's darn near impossible. And again, not all coaching staffs and not all programs are created equal when it comes to resources, particularly as it relates to staffing, because the staffing and the manpower is what you need here, right? And I don't mean on a day-to-day basis. I'm talking about an hour-to-hour basis, particularly as it relates to the transfer portal. You know, the one thing that I don't like in all of this that I do think needs to be cleared up or changed up is I don't like that the transfer portal window, this first window, number one, it's 45 days. To me, that's at least 20 days too long. All right. I don't like that bleeds over the first signing period, because what you'd love to be able to have, and if this means you have to move the first signing period back a little bit and figure out a way to do that, maybe we do that. But I think that the programs would love to know, where do we stand right now with our high school portion of the signing class, while at the same time knowing that there are no transfer portal guys to come in or go out. Right now, that's not where we're at. You could go into Wednesday, all right, know you've got these guys that have gone out the door, but don't really quite know if you're going to get some of these other guys coming in. Oh, and by the way, you got to figure out what your allotted numbers are for the high school ranks. And the water's just too muddy. So somehow, some way, I think we need to clean that up, get some more clarity for the coaches, the programs, and the players for that fact as well. So, again, a lot of work to do. I hate people saying unintended consequences. If you had half a brain when all of this started and you didn't think that this is what we were going to run into, you were a moron. I mean, it was inevitable that we find ourselves in this place right now.
Luginbill, sticking in the portal, Travis Hunter is in it now, and this is a guy that originally committed with Florida State, wanted to follow his idol Deion to Jackson State. I'm sure he got good NIL money there. He has not ruled out going to Colorado. Ultimately, where do you think Travis Hunter ends?
It's going to be interesting to see how lured he is by big money opportunities with name, image, and likeness, considering what his recruitment was coming out of high school, the type of production he had on the field, which he played in all three phases of the game as a true freshman and played very, very well, albeit at the FCS level. And he's a priority position in the transfer portal. Well, there's plenty of running backs, there's plenty of wide receivers, there's plenty of safeties, but there aren't many corners, and there aren't many pass rushers, and there aren't many offensive tackles or quarterbacks you think could make a difference for you. So he's going to be a very, very hot commodity. I do think there's such a strong bond and tie between him and Deion Sanders as it relates to the position that ultimately I think Travis Hunter will end up playing full-time, and that's corner. Obviously, Deion Sanders and his background at corner, the NFL relationship and the developmental relationship, and there's familiarity that's already been established. I would say Colorado is probably the lead dog here, but we are now in a realm of college football athletics and recruiting where the ultimate almighty dollar is playing a pretty serious game right now with players in a way that we never had to experience or deal with before.
When you see Frank Gore Jr. of Southern Miss, 21 carries, 329 yards to set a bowl record, do you go, wow, man, that was an amazing one day for the ages? Or are you like me and you go, well, I wonder how much money he just made in NIL. Where is he going to play football next year? Is that sad that I thought that? But when I watched him playing for Southern Miss, I thought to myself, he's going to end up at Miami, probably, like his dad.
Listen, not only are you not wrong for thinking it, how can you not now? I mean, this is what we've all been thrust into. There's no loyalty is waning by the minute. There's no commitment to team. There are for some guys, but for the vast majority of what we're seeing, this is me, I individualism. I think that's what makes the Will Anderson, Bryce Young storyline of the last 10 days so remarkable. And selfishly for me, it's fantastic because I have the Sugar Bowl. But you look at this, whether it's transferring up, whether it's transferring down, whether it's transferring laterally. This is about what I call the BBD, the bigger, better deal. And where is it, and can you find it?
Back to Bryce Young and Will Anderson playing. To me, it's baffling. I'm like you. I think it's great for those guys. It's great for the team. But why are they playing? And it's sad that I'm asking this question because things have changed so much.
It is sad. My immediate response to that, this is without having our meetings with Coach Saban and the staff, is that your best players, if they're going to truly be great ones, are your most committed and best team guys. And they see the bigger picture. I also believe that those guys really, truly think that it is important to show the NFL that every game counts, every play matters, and winning is the ultimate goal. And it's a reflection upon the program. It's a reflection upon the environment inside that building. I think it trickles down to recruiting. If you got a guy like Will Anderson that's telling Keon Keeley, hey, listen, you need to come to Alabama, and here's why. And oh, by the way, the Sugar Bowl is important. All right, that's not happening everywhere. That resonates, if you ask me. And there's going to be a lot of people that push back and say, "Oh, you're crazy. They're risking a $50 million deal here." Yeah, they are, but in their mind, they've weighed the risk, and they feel it's in their best interest overall. And by the way, guys, here's the thing that gets, I think, glossed over, unfortunately. So everybody's talking about injury, right? Oh, you could get injured, and yeah, you could get injured. All right, the vast majority of injuries are not catastrophic. And for about every time you actually play a game, you're going to practice a minimum of 4 times. You are far more likely to get injured in practice than you are in an actual game. So to me, we think of the game only. We don't think about all of the other times you take the field that you put yourself at risk. I love it. I wish we were seeing more of it. I hope it sends a message to other great players and other great programs. I don't think it necessarily will, but I'd sure like to see that.
Tom Luginbill, brought to us every week by our friends at AAATix. If you want tickets to that Sugar Bowl with Bryce and Will and no opt-outs for Alabama at this moment, you can get it with our friends at AAATix, AAATix.com, or 205-822-7382. That includes the semifinal game with Georgia and Ohio State in Atlanta, or any basketball game all season long. AAATix.com. AAATix.com is AAATix.com, or 205-822-7382. I thought 5-star wide receiver Aaron Anderson was going to be a stud at Alabama. Got injured, never got on the field. He's in the portal. He's back to LSU. Seems like a big get for Brian Kelly's program.
Well, it is. And what you've got to figure out and find out in the process, just as everybody does who casts their line into the transfer portal, is you got to find out why. What went wrong? What didn't work? Was it a program issue? Was it a player issue? Was it a combination of both? Is it maturity? Is it a lack of focus? Is it not being responsible for your time? There are so many of these factors that play into why, a guy doesn't pan out, why he doesn't play right away. If he gets injured, then he gets frustrated, right? So now he's not engaged because he's not on the field, and you become isolated. Next thing you know, your lack of maturity maybe starts to manifest itself either through body language or making poor decisions. I mean, I'm sitting here, guys. Here's my board right here for the Sugar Bowl, and I'm running down the list of these wide receivers that I'm crossing off, right? That everybody recruited, that were high-profile guys. Not everybody's going to pan out, And so, yeah, is he a good player coming out of high school? Sure. Do you think he can help your football team by taking him back? I did the spring game for LSU last year. And one of the things that Brian Kelly did mention, and this was early on in the process, he said, we are going to really focus on bounce back guys in recruiting. Guys that were in this state that we didn't recruit, but if they went somewhere else and they go into the portal, they're our priority number one. So it's not a surprise that we saw this happen with LSU.
If there was a comeback player of the year in college football, it would have been Bo Nix going to Oregon this year. And I think some people are surprised he's coming back, Lugs, but I think it's the right decision. But this has got to be exciting for Oregon fans.
Really exciting for Oregon fans, and I think 2 reasons why he's come back. Number one, the NFL probably told him he needed to, and he's smart in listening to what they are telling him when he turned in his papers. Number two, I would venture a guess that there are also a lot of people that are saying to him, folks that are going to evaluate you want to see if you can put two back-to-back productive seasons together. Because up until his time at Oregon, I think that was one of the main criticisms of Bo Nix, was the up and down, inconsistent, erratic style of play that had plagued him throughout the vast majority of his career. And then all of a sudden he goes to Oregon, the stars start to align. And, now he's not going to have his offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. Will Stein's going to come in and take over the offense. But he needs to prove, I think, to scouts and general managers and coaches from a draft perspective that this wasn't a flash in the pan, right? It wasn't just the right pieces of the puzzle being in the right place at the right time and poof, all of a sudden you had this magic recipe, but that he can influence a football team and do that again and make everybody else around it better. I love this move. I think it's a smart move.
AATix.com with Luginbill every week. Auburn has hosted both Leary and McCall, the quarterbacks from NC State and Coastal Carolina. It's pretty obvious that they're interested if they can get an elite quarterback. Chance of Hugh Freeze landing one of those guys, you think? And if they get either one of those, what is Auburn getting?
Well, I think anytime you can go, even if it's a short-term solution to get yourself off the mat and try to propel your program in a positive trajectory as you're working on the recruiting front at the high school ranks, which right now Auburn's had a hell of a 7 days in recruiting. Clearly, they're making an impact on the high school landscape. But you'd like to see the quarterback position have multiple years of eligibility. All right, that's ultimately what you'd like to get. But you also want to make sure that you have the right fit. If it was up to me, I would take Grayson McCall over Devin Leary. I think Devin Leary's ceiling is very, very close to being met. I think Grayson McCall is a much better athlete overall, which lends better to maybe what this Auburn offense would like to be, a little bit more athletic, a little bit more dynamic as a runner. And he's got a higher ceiling for development, in my opinion. And I've referenced with you guys before. I thought Spencer Sanders would be an ideal fit. I mean, how often are you going to have a guy that started that many games that's thrown for almost 10,000 yards go into the portal? And so, I think that there are options out there that can help Auburn. I do expect them to sign one.
If you were listing the best coaches in college football, how far down the list do you have to go to get to Jonathan Smith?
Not very far. I think the better question is not listing the best coaches, because I think he's an excellent coach. It's who are the best identifiers of the talent that they have access to and the developers of that talent to turn that player from a true freshman to a redshirt junior, and he's an entirely different guy. I think that's where you could make the argument that Jonathan Smith at Oregon State could be to the top of the list, right? I mean, what he's done in the time in which he's done it, where they are located, where they have to go to get players. They're not getting play right away guys. So from an X's and O's perspective, obviously they're a well-coached football team. But what the more developmental the player, the harder the projection it is. And the more information that you have to gather and the more of the dice that you are rolling, because you don't have as many definitive answers. It's what you think could be. It's not what you know. And they have been right an awful lot of the time.
AAATix, AAATix.com, as we talk to Tom Luginbill. A couple of more seconds. The national semifinal game coming up December 31st between Georgia and Ohio State. I thought Georgia's been the best team since that Oregon game all year long, but Ohio State sits in a position. I saw Alabama do it in 2017, and I saw Alabama lose in 2014 in Georgia's position to Ohio State. If I'm a Georgia fan, is there some concern that Ohio State is talented enough to battle me and beat me in Atlanta?
Absolutely, there should be that concern, because Ohio State's got top to bottom talent. They have top to bottom depth. I know they're ailing a little bit in the offensive backfield at running back. They're going to have to come up with some answers. If I'm a Georgia fan, the one thing that I do think benefits Georgia is they're not playing a dynamic, significant run threat at quarterback. Essentially, they're playing 11 on 10, right? When you know where the quarterback's going to be, you can isolate him, and you're not overly concerned with him creating and pulling a rabbit out of a hat and all of a sudden break the contain and he's rushed for 25 yards. Now you're having to change how you approach defending Ohio State. I think this is going to be about limiting explosive plays, forcing C.J. Stroud to have to throw the ball into very, very tight windows. I kind of like the game plan that Georgia took versus Tennessee, where they just said, we think we're as good or better than you are at wideout. So we're not going to let you get a free release off the ball. We're not going to let you just run around out there in space. We're going to get in your face. We're going to reroute you. We're not going to let you separate. And if we can do that, then we're going to have enough people in the box to stop the run. So Ohio State's going to have to play well. And I think they're going to have to make a lot of plays. And maybe to some degree, I think Georgia might have to make a mistake or two that Ohio State would have to capitalize on at the right time.
My wife, 24 years now, she's had to put up with this, 25 Christmases. I have one of our dear friends, I was talking to his wife, and I was like, what are you getting, so-and-so for Christmas? And she started listing all these adult things, at my age, very adult things for Christmas. And she was like, what's Maggie getting you? And I said, well, I asked for a PlayStation 5. So that's what she has to live with, right? She's married to a kid. What's on Luginbill's Christmas list? What do you want? If Santa brings you anything, what do you want?
This is going to sound remarkably just awful. I literally did not ask for anything. I could not come up with something that I truly wanted. Now, there are gifts under the tree right now for me, and I have no idea what they are. None. I kind of feel like a little kid again, because generally, you ask for something, as an adult, you're going to get it. I didn't really know what to ask for. And I'm not one of those, I like an actual physical gift, right? I mean, I'll do the gift card thing. And I know the gift card thing's easy in today's climate, but I like getting like the physical gift and opening the gift. But as a dad and as a husband, we don't need anything. You know what our enjoyment is? Like, our enjoyment is watching the kids and the wife open their gifts, right? And so I know that's a boring answer. I actually have no idea what my wife and my kids are getting me. Hopefully they're getting me something, but I don't know.
Yeah, I hope it's a PlayStation 5, to be honest with you. So I don't,
so
I don't feel like a kid.
I don't need anything.
Well, I don't need anything either. That's why I said a PlayStation 5.
But that's a great ask. I mean, if you don't need anything, you're going to shoot for the moon, right? You're going to say, okay, well, let me throw this out there, see what happens.
Well, I just thought
she's going to be tickled to death because you actually gave her something that's a tangible gift, and now she's super happy with you. You've won either way.
It's selfish on my part, but when people are over at the house that I don't want to spend time with, I can go up to my room and play PlayStation 5.
Merry Christmas.
I'm thinking about I don't do days off very well. I don't do days off well.
I was going to say, when do you have time to play PlayStation?
Yeah, well, we're off Friday, we're off Monday, and I'll play PlayStation those 2 days. And I probably won't use it again until the next time they force me to take a day off up here. So
that's great.
Yeah. Luginbill, thank you, man. We will not talk to you again until Christmas. So Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas time.
Merry Christmas to you guys. Have a great rest of the week. Enjoy bowl season, and hope Santa brings you lots of goodies.
Yeah. Safe travels down to New Orleans. That is Tom Luginbill, always brought to you by our friends at AAATix.